Hello, everyone. This is actually the part 6, I believe. Jonah himself was the recipient of the very mercy he struggled to extend to others. When we talk about sin, it is disobedience. It is going against God's will, going against His word, and acting contrary to His character. And if that is the definition, then we must be honest. Jonah sinned. Jonah disobeyed God when he refused to go to Nineveh. Yet God showed Jonah mercy. When Jonah was thrown into the sea, there was no natural way he could have survived. He could not have swum back to the shore, he would have drowned. But God, in His mercy, prepared a great fish not to destroy Jonah, but to save him. What looked like judgment was actually rescue. What looked like punishment was actually preservation. That was mercy. Nineveh disobeyed God, Jonah disobeyed God. Yet, Jonah received mercy while he struggled with the idea of Nineveh receiving mercy. The very thing that saved him was the very thing he didn't want extended to his enemies. It's a sobering reminder of how easy it is to forget the mercy we ourselves have received. Sometimes we can celebrate God's mercy when it covers us, but question it when it covers those who hurt us. We rejoice when God is patient with our failures, but struggle when He is patient with theirs. But the truth is this: God extending mercy to our enemies may feel undeserved until we remember that we ourselves were once enemies of God. Oh, yes. Scripture tells us that while we were still sinners, Christ died for us. We were once far from Him. We were once in the pit that many people are in today. And if God had not been patient, if God had not been merciful, where would we be? So when we remember how many times God has forgiven us, how many times He has rescued us, how many times He has shown us compassion, when we didn't deserve it, it becomes harder to justify withholding mercy from others. I am reminded of the parable of the unforgiving servant in Matthew 18:21 through 35. This parable begins when Peter asked Jesus, Lord, how many times shall I forgive someone who sins against me? Up to 7 times? Jesus answered, I tell you, not 7 times, but 70 times 7, showing that forgiveness should not be limited. To explain this, Jesus told a story. He said, the kingdom of heaven is like a king who wanted to settle accounts with his servants. One servant was brought to him who owed an enormous debt, so large that there was no way he could ever repay it. Because he could not pay it, the master ordered that he, his wife, his children, and everything he had be sold to repay the debt. Okay? The servant fell on his knees and begged, be patient with me, and I will pay you back everything. Moved with compassion, the master forgave the debt completely and let him go free. But when that same servant left, he found a fellow servant who owed him a very small amount of money compared to what he had been forgiven. Instead of showing mercy, he grabbed the man, began to choke him, and demanded, pay back what you owe me. The fellow servant fell down and pleaded with him, using almost the same words, be patient with me and I will pay you back. But he refused. Instead, he had the man thrown into prison until he could pay the debt. When the other servants saw what happened, they were deeply distressed and reported everything to the master. The master then called the first servant back and said, you wicked servant, I forgive you all that debt because you begged me. Shouldn't you have had mercy on your fellow servant, just as I had mercy on you? In anger, the master handed him over to be punished until he could pay back all he owned. That servant received mercy from his master, but refused to extend it to someone else. There is something I'm beginning to notice about the human heart, something very subtle, but very real. When we hear about the wrongs others have done, when we see their failures, their sins, their mistakes, something in us rises up and say, they should be punished, they should face the full consequences, they deserve judgment. And in those moments, we feel justified in that response because we are standing on the side of the offended. But when something shifts the moment, we become the guilty ones. But something shifts the moment we become the guilty ones. Mercy feels unnecessary until you are the one who needs it. The moment we find ourselves in the position of the guilty, the moment we are the ones who have failed, who have fallen short, who have made mistakes, suddenly our language changes. Suddenly we begin to cry for mercy. Suddenly we begin to hope for patience. Suddenly we begin to ask for understanding. I've never seen anyone who sinned against God, who did something terrible, go on their knees and say, God, judge me. God, let fire burn me. Lord, let me be punished. I have never seen that. I have never prayed that prayer myself. What we cry for is mercy. We say, Lord, have mercy on me. Have mercy on me. But when it is someone who offends us, when it is someone who has hurt us, our response is often different. Even when I wrong people, even when I have done things that were hurtful, what I desire from God is mercy, and what I hope from the people is forgiveness. But when I hear about someone else who has done something terrible, something horrible, something painful, my first reaction is not always mercy. It is easy to demand justice when we are not the ones standing trial. But when it is our turn, we long for mercy. We begin to say, please understand. Please be patient with me. Please give me another chance. And that is why the mercy of God is so humbling, because it reminds us that we have all stood in the place of the guilty at one point or another. The mercy we receive is meant to flow through us, not stop with us. If God has been patient with us, we must be patient with others. If God has forgiven us, we must forgive others. If God has shown us mercy, we must show mercy too. Because mercy was never meant to be a gift we only receive. It is a gift we are meant to give. When Jonah was in the belly of the fish, he cried out to God for mercy. And God in his compassion extended mercy to Jonah. And when God commanded the fish to vomit Jonah, there is no account where the fish resisted. The fish did not say, no, I will not release him. I will digest him. I will destroy him. The fish obeyed. Jonah cried for mercy, and mercy was given. But when the people of Nineveh repented, when God chose to extend mercy to them, Jonah became angry. Jonah forgot that moments before, he himself was in the belly of the fish. He himself needed mercy. He himself received mercy, yet he struggled when that same mercy was extended to others. Brethren, do you see the issue? Yes. Do you see the issue? The issue is not that we don't understand mercy when it applies to us. The issue is that we struggle to accept mercy when it applies to those who hurt us. And that reveals something about the human heart. We love mercy when we are the recipients. We wrestle with mercy when others are the recipients. Jonah's struggle, as I begin to round up, Jonah's struggle is not just Jonah's story. It is a mirror. It reminds us that the mercy we celebrate must also be the mercy we are willing to extend. Because the same God who rescued us is the God who desires to rescue them. And if God has been patient with us, if He has shown us mercy again and again, then we should never stand in the way of that mercy reaching someone else. We are vessels of God's mercy on earth. God bless you.